Welcome to the 5th episode of Talk It Up with Taylor. If you didn't know by now, I'm your host, Taylor Gattoni. Welcome back, everyone. It's another week of Talk It Up with Taylor. So here we are, getting it rolling. I was looking back at or listening to the first episode of Talk It Up with Taylor, and of course the other episodes that I've talked on, and there it is again. I realize some of the things that I do is and I just kind of drag it out. Another thing is how I jump around from one topic to the next. And even though I have my list every single time, I try to talk about one thing and then I hop around to the next idea and then circle back to the next. I can't even explain it. It's like the feeling. This is all I can do. That's the motion in my mind. Another thing I realized when looking back at the videos or just listening to myself, which is something I do even when I report, is I look back at my stories and go, that was a weird hand gesture, didn't like the facial expression I made there, or oh, the tone in my voice wasn't right, I should change the inflection in this sentence or for that word. And even looking back on these videos or hearing myself, I sense the energy in my voice, as I'm sure that you guys have heard as well. Sometimes I just drag it out or I lose my train of thought, so things move a bit slower than what's going on up here. There's a lot going on up here, and then getting it out is a whole other story, which is, it's fine. It's how I work. It's who I am. Going along, seeing the energy that I give off on camera is not just how I give it off professionally in the work setting, but also giving it off here. And so when I record these episodes, usually it's after work. And to give you a little clarification or transparency about my work hours, usually I'm like Tuesday to Saturday, 4 a.m. until about noon. Sometimes, depending when I get my work done, it's not until like 3 in the afternoon. So we're putting in long hours, and by the time I get home, I'm sure you can imagine, going from like feeling jet lagged, or what's the other one? Slap happy. I think I'm just slap happy and loopy most like 9 times out of 10 throughout my days, throughout my weeks. And so when I get back and record this and look at myself, I'm like, wow, we were really out of it and giving off this whole like loopy, I don't even know, or giving off like this loopy energy, because you get back, you're drained, you've gone through so many things in a day. So in noticing that loopy energy, I've started to tie it into work, in not only how I'm the morning reporter, so you're up during these crazy hours when everyone else is fast asleep. And in fact, back in college, I probably would not go to bed until 4 in the morning. So this was like a complete 180 in my lifestyle, my routine, and trying to figure out, okay, get to bed early, try to get to bed early, wake up at like 3 in the morning, and you gotta go. You have to start using your brain, telling these stories. I don't talk to people that early in the morning, thank goodness. Don't want to wake them up. Sometimes though, I wake people up and go, hey, can you do an interview with me at 5:45 in the morning? They're like, I'm also like, sorry, it is what it is. It's part of the job, so thank you for getting my work done with me. It's really interesting, and I feel like once you start telling people the behind the scenes of the news industry, they're like, what? Same. I felt the very same. But that goes for any industry, and tying it into, there it is again, but tying it into the work industry and how I started to see my personality grow as a person, as this morning reporter, is not only that loopy energy where I'm the outgoing and quirky type of person, so I see it more come off on camera, which is something I didn't used to do back in college. In fact, in college, I used to play the reporter, which I thought I had to be so like, breaking news, we're here, blah, 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 use this voice. You don't have to use that voice. In fact, they want you to be more personable with the people that you're talking to, so you're not just all official all the time. I've thought about a lot how, am I fit for this schedule, for this really early morning? And it's like, yeah, because that's the type of energy I give off, this like, it's 5 in the morning, we're up, sun's not up, but hey, we're up, we're gonna get you up for the day, we're gonna tell you what news is happening, and we're just gonna keep it rolling with all of the stories. And then you get done with the shift, and you get home, and you're just like, huh, That was a lot. I have this whole other routine to get used to that people don't usually see. After the shows, what usually happens is I get my story for the next day ready. So again, we're not waking people up that early in the morning, but I'll go talk to them and I'll start to notice how my brain starts to kind of check out, or it starts to crash, whether that's from the coffee or it's because of the sleep or both. Why not both again? So I guess it comes down to this whole episode that I wanted to focus on was why talk it up. The whole thing was, I think I told you guys back in college, I was like, hey, I think I want to start my own show, my own podcast, find a way to talk to communities and tell another story, find another angle, another side of things. And so when I got rolling into being the reporter, getting into my career, figuring out who I am as a person, and again, going back to what's in the community, what do they have to offer, and maybe not have to offer, but what have they gone through and able to create these stories, and what can they share as their story that somehow ties us all together. So why talk it up? It goes back to when I was in college and I was talking to one of the ladies about how COVID was shutting down restaurants and they had to do takeout or find other means like delivery to keep their businesses running. And she was like, the news came in here the other day, talked to me for about 10 to 20 minutes, and they only used 10 seconds of what I said on TV. Like, why did they ask me all those things? And it's like, well, we have to get the understanding. We're trying to find this soundbite that perfectly wraps up not only the content of the story factually, but also grab your emotion, grab that human aspect. So that side of the story. And then I've also gone through my other interviews even now, and I'm talking to people in between each live interview, and they have such a story that they go into, not only how they got their business started, not only to how they are the way that they are, or why they're the way that they are, and the different experiences that, we just can't talk right now. The different experiences that they've gone through, the different people that they've met, and we've talked about this in the previous episodes, is how people come to be based on their experiences and what they've gone through. So in talking with some of these people, and again, doing it at such strange hours where no one else really gets to see that, is some of them are really happy with their lives. You talk to them and you feel it, you see their smiles and they want to tell you, they're like, let me tell you about this, let me show you this, I want you to get that understanding and I just want to share with you because I'm passionate about it and I want everyone else to be passionate about it, even if they're not passionate about it, to get that understanding. So you find those people who are so excited, and most of them that I've talked to, it's, you know, because of COVID, they found, let's bring it back in, the good and the bad. And so maybe they got fired from a job, but now they're doing what they love. And some of them, I remember it was like a small business Saturday, and she was telling me how she got fired. She had a daughter and she was like, I don't know how to support my family because now I'm fired. And she's like, but I've always wanted to start my own boutique. I've always had a sense of style and I wanted to share those pieces of clothing to people and for everyone to feel beautiful, to feel confident. And in saying it, I could tell how confident she was becoming and how happy she was that she turned her dream into a reality and that now she was able to have a purpose in helping people to just feel comfortable in their own skin. And that in itself was empowering. And hey, then I've talked to people who feel like the world is out to get them, that every single person is out to get them, that nobody understands. Yet at the same time, they haven't given people the chance to understand them. They aren't getting vulnerable. And instead, they're so mad that they create these blockages, not just within themselves, so that they're not feeling their feelings, but that they're also blocking it from other people. To me, when we create these blockages, it's not only because we're afraid to disappoint others, but it's because deep down we feel like we've disappointed ourselves, and also we don't want to hurt others. So then I see these other people who get really upset with the position that they're in life, whether that's personally, and again, that goes mentally, physically, or if it's professionally, and they're like, hey, this is something I once really wanted to do, and now that I'm in the position, I just don't want to do it, or it's not what I thought it was going to be, or it's a really toxic environment and it's weighing me down. Therefore, they're not happy with the situation that they're in anymore. And even talking with those people, it's tough. it's tough because you're like, hey, you shouldn't be out there blaming the world. But also, I understand that it is really challenging. And it's hard to just kind of yank yourself out of that mindset and be like, you have that choice to do something with your life. Even if it's maybe not change your career path, maybe find something or somewhere else to go, or find other ways to make it better, improve your whole environment around you when you're home, create that safe place where you're still where you're still able to unravel yourself, get those emotions out, and just sit with it for a second and then let it go. With some of the people who create those blockages, I also realize it's a lot of people who feel like they aren't doing too much with themselves, or they're just constantly mad at something. And hey, being mad at something doesn't resolve the situation. It creates more clutter, it creates more of a blockage, it creates more hate, and instead you have this whole fog. You can't see clear enough to just talk it out maturely, get those conversations out, say how you feel, and try to maturely resolve it, right? So I've gone through comments on Facebook, on Twitter, from when I posted stories, from when my station posts stories. And yeah, you have some of the people who are like, this is great, way to go. And you have the others that just have essays that go off on every single person without a rhyme or reason. They're just mad. And I just want to talk to them and be like, why? Why are you mad? Where's the lack of understanding? What is making you feel this way? So I've said it before, it's just going beyond the surface, understanding people beyond what they give off, their first impression, because sometimes first impressions just don't go so great. But in bringing up the blockages, some of the comments that I've seen are, hey, why not this, or why not that, or why are you doing this, why are you doing that? And it's almost like they're attacking, and you're kind of like, whoa, calm down, like, chill, breathe for a second. Let's try to do some understanding instead of just getting mad and attacking all of a sudden, freaking out. And when I read these comments, a lot of them I'm like, I can understand. Again, understanding. Let's start tallying up how many times we say that here. But you start to understand where people come from in their industries. For example, farmers. And they're like, why is this taking so long? Why aren't these crops here? Why are you doing this with the tractors? And it's like, it's tough, because I understand why they're asking it. I've had those questions. In fact, that's why we do these stories, is to answer those questions. And it's like, while I've questioned it on one end, it's like, I understand that. But then when people argue for the other side, it's like, well, I've done stories on that too. I understand that side as well. So it's hard to mesh the two together and kind of get people to understand that same medium, understand that same explanation as to why things are happening, right? It's like that yin and the yang, the balancing of each other out. You kind of have to understand one thing to understand the other and how they function together. It's just reminding me of mosquitoes. Like, why are mosquitoes here? I think of them as just bad. They're itchy, they're irritating, you just want to swat at them all the time. But they're good for the food web, right? Frogs got to eat them. And frogs are good. I don't like spiders. They eat the spiders, but spiders are also good. But you got to have some things in life to balance out the other things in life. And that's just the way it is. So I just did my nails. You can't really see. They're pink. Sorry if my hands are gross. They're pink though, very light. And what I like to do when I paint my nails, I don't know why, I always like to pick at them. So that's another thing. Once I start picking, all of them come off. But until then, I just kind of like to, can you hear it? A little ASMR. I don't know why I do that. If it's like a nervous thing, I just kind of like to clink them together. I don't know. I like to do this with my rings also. Another fidget thing. Does anyone else? I know other people do that. Chime in if you do so. Can all feel the same. Okay, I think we're coming down to the last section of what I want to get into. And I will say, I gotta applaud myself right now. We actually stayed on track for the most part. Emphasis on the most part. Still hopped around, but that's typical Taylor. Going along with seeing different lifestyles and perspectives is I've noticed how, you go from college, you go from here, and I've talked about this, but how your lifestyles change. And not only from working a crazy work hour shift from 4 to noon, which is, it's good. I like it. It's who I am. I feel like it fits. Who knows? It's what I know now, right? It's my new norm. So in part of my new norm, I'm talking to a lot of people that aren't necessarily in my age group. I'm understanding those who have established themselves more in life. And it's really fascinating to see the different walks of life that I've come across. And not only when I'm talking to them, again, back into in between my interviews, right? Because each of my interviews are about 1.5 to 2 minutes. So we go into, hey, why did you start this store? And it has to be a quick zip. Moving on to the next question. Why do you do this? Bloop. And then you kind of just keep it going until they say wrap, and then you just got to send it back. But when I've talked to them in between interviews, they have all these stories and they want to get it off their chest. Or again, they have that passion to talk about it. And I've talked with some of them and they're like, I really want to get into this. Do you think we have time? I'm like, unfortunately, that's not our focus and we do not have time for that today. But I would love to talk to you about it eventually, even if it's not aired on TV. My only thing is I don't think I can do that in relation with work. I can't be taking other people, but work really inspired this when I have gotten to know other people, because I'm like, there are so many stories and people really do want to share them, and it's eye-opening when you do get to talk to them. You see them as a human being. You see them for who they are beyond your judgments that you had on that first impression. And tying this all together with why talk it up and being vulnerable and finding a place to get it out, I've told you guys before that this really is a time for me to just kind of talk to myself and understand what's going on in my head. And before, it's been very all over the place. I know that when I listen back, I'm like, wow, Taylor, you were really trying to just get it all out there. But you have to slow down, take a second. So I know that in the other episodes, we touched on topics really quickly. I think we went into it a little bit, but I do want to talk it up. So these future episodes, now we're hitting the ground running. We're going to start talking it up. I want to thank you all again for listening. And before we fully end this, is one of my friends brought up that the hardships and challenges that I've mentioned aren't just through COVID. These have been things that have gone in pre-COVID and are still, of course, happening now as everyone's slowly transitioning back to the new norm. The new norm. Who knows? Who knows what that will look like? I realize I'm using a lot of hand gestures. These are weird, these videos. It's interesting to see myself in like different tones and then doing different things. It's all based on how tired I am, how loopy I get, how it's whatever. But you guys get to see it all. This is it. We're keeping it real. So I hope you appreciate that. Because that's the goal. So guys, we're gonna wrap it up. I do have an early day tomorrow. Gotta wake up early for work. It's about 5:50 in the afternoon right now, so gotta hit the hay soon. But thank you so much for listening to the 5th episode of Talk It Up with Taylor. Hopefully I was able to provide a little bit more insight as to why Talk It Up, and also explain my energy on camera now versus the camera when I am working. It's like we kind of have to snap into character no matter what you're feeling personally, no matter how tired you are. You kind of just have to wake up and shake it out for a second. So thank you guys for letting me open up. I hope you guys are learning a lot on here. I know we haven't touched on too much yet, but we will get into it. I know in one of the previous episodes, I talked about welcoming guests onto Talk It Up with Taylor. So if you or someone that you know wants to share their thoughts, ideas, or perspectives on something new or something that we have already previously talked about, you know where to go. You're gonna go to talkitupwtaylor.weebly.com. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you're on the website, no worries at all, you know where to go. We are making slight updates to the website, so stay tuned. I'm not sure. I'm trying to make it more visually appealing, more easier for all of you to go through, but also engaging. We're in the works, so stay tuned with that. There is an updates page on there, so you can always go there as well. But yeah, we're just kind of getting things rolling slowly but surely. Okay, guys, thank you so much for listening to the 5th episode of Talk It Up with Taylor. I'm your host, Taylor Gattoni. I almost knocked over the notebook, but look it. We went through it all. Yeah, that feels good. Okay, I hope you guys have an amazing week. I hope you're feeling as great as I do right now by sticking to the script. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you guys on the next Talk It Up Tuesday.